What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and you're here for another Party Nerds exclusive. So, we all do remember 2019 Hall H San Diego Comic Con, where Kevin Feige basically gave us the plans on the continuation into the multiversal saga in Phase 5 into projects like the Marvels, Black Panther 2, Fantastic Four, that was going to basically be the echelon coming out of Phase 5, and Blade. But the one thing that it seemed like it was a glimmer and a real subtle whisper was the mention of mutants. So when you look at that from that context, but it's just a funny thing because it was as if specifically they did not want to say the phrase X-Men. Now the speculation into the possibility of one of the greatest comic teams known to all and how they make their introduction. Instead, we got cameos. And how did these cameos formulate themselves? One was the fact that we got Namor in Black Panther 2, who can be self-described as the first mutant, or better yet, the one that's basically just without aging and has been in the MCU, or better yet, in just the Marvel universe, maybe Earth 616 the longest. And then you had Multiversal of Madness. Now, some may proclaim that Scarlet Witch is a mutant herself, but that hasn't necessarily come to light because Magneto has not been introduced. But we did get another introduction in that movie, and that was namely Professor X. So Charles Xavier made his introduction as a member of the Illuminati, not in Earth 616, but in Earth 838. And we know how badly that ended for him. Total neck snap, he was out of there. So this also led us to the retcon of all retcons. Kamala Khan, her whole origin is now to the point where it's not that she's of inhuman descent, but she is more like a hybrid of sense. So it's actually discovered that she is to have the mutant gene, and not only did it change cinematically, but it also changed in the comics as well. So as recent as July 2023's Hellfire Gala, where she was resurrected as a mutant hybrid, but still no better understanding of how or when the X-Men arrive until the post-credit scene of the Marvels, where actually closing a hole in a new dimension and blocking it out, Monica Rambeau comes face to face with not only her mother, Maria Rambeau, in alternate reality Captain Marvel herself, but add Hank McCoy, aka Beast, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, who did a great job in the early Bryan Singer X-Men movies as Beast. And it means that the X-Men won't exist with our current superheroes, but within their own timeline, whatever dimension that is. But what it does and how it has to do with it, we're not exactly sure what dimension that's going to be, but it's more to the point where they're just going to be a singular facet all their own. But the thing is, you might be asking yourself is, what does that do for the animated series? Well, Marvel regained the X-Men and the mutant name in 2019 after the Fox merger. And this is the official first X-Men project by Marvel Studios. Some have asked, why, if animated, would they start with a continuation of the 90s animated series? Why not the 2000 X-Men Evolution, which everybody is past the cult following for? Or you could even say Wolverine and the X-Men. But there's some will say that the die-hard fan base, the mutant fan base, can build more of the 90s show, that they called most of those voice actors from that show are all back. Cal Dodd, who did Wolverine, Lenore Zan, who did Rogue, who's like a Canadian member of Parliament, and she's actually coming back. George Buza, who's doing Beast, Catherine Disher, who's doing Jean Grey, Chris Potter, who's doing Gambit, Allison Seeley Smith, who's doing Storm, Allison Court, who's doing Jubilee. These are some of the facets that are going to be introduced in this show that are more so resembling things that the fans want. So today they call this the Marvel Animated Multiverse. Now, it's kind of suspicious how that name came about, because yeah, we're in a multiversal saga, but they can't really proclaim that the entire animated universe that they're going to build is going to be built within the multiverse, because or better yet, if they did, they have to find out certain ways to do so to where they can fit in all those types of characters. Now, if you throw in maybe like Sony Animation with what they're doing with the Spider-Verse, you throw in all the What If series, and you throw in this, then you have a conclusion of somewhat of a multiverse that basically helps out and works in your benefit. But what they did was that they started this with the help of Bo DeMayo. He was the head show writer for Moon Knight and the first season of The Witcher. Taking lead, he's now the showrunner and the executive producer. With the series like What If, crossing and interjecting storylines, how can this newest iteration do the same to give foundation for the rebranding of the X-Men as a team? The mutant angle should be, in my opinion, singular, as I said before, without need to crossover into any other Marvel properties. The lore of certain storylines can add into the series, something they never tried, such as specific storylines, whether it's been House of M, God Loves Man Kills, the Krakoan era, which I absolutely love. Or maybe they could go left because they would probably save those properties for the movies. They might have an opportunity to interject some things here and there. But although a reintroduction into pivotal figures like the Shi'ar Empire was introduced in those introductory X-Men series, the Morlocks, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, they also had those occasional episodes with Apocalypse when he would show up, or maybe even like was Calark and the Guardian. Man, these were just like certain aspects of the show where you knew that the lore of the X-Men and the mythology of the X-Men and the casting of the X-Men just shows that they were just that much more larger than what was expected on screen, or whether they were done on TV. Because when you look at the comics, the X-Men team is not just like 5 to 7 members. It's a race of people that live amongst us on Earth, that have special abilities, that go through carnage and discrimination and prejudice. And it's, regardless of what a lot of people think, it's one of the most political characterized comic books that there's ever been. And they can't sit past that. And it's probably the reason why they want to go more singular than anything, and why they probably have to separate them from a lot of the characters that the MCU has already built. Because if they try to intersectionality into those characters right now, it might fuck up the flow of how exactly they want to get this done. So one of the tidbits that I was able to draw up out of just the voice character castings is the fact that a certain Christopher Britton is going to be back as a voice actor on the show. And that only is derivative of one person, because he was the voice of Mr. Sinister. So if I was to just roll the dice on this one, if Mr. Sinister is taking an appearance in the animated show, then it only goes to show, it only proves that the Summers bloodline is going to be already at risk. If you know, you know. But there's so much that can go on here. There's so many storylines. I mean, if we stay with the Sinister characterizations, it's going to make this show even that much more top notch. But this is James Grandmaster Facts Boys. Feel free to check us out on the Party Nerds podcast every single Monday on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube at 9 p.m. Peace out. Party Nerds go.
Party nerds, party nerds, party nerds, party nerds, party nerds.